Uninterrupted. On this episode, we'll be talking about moving away from your hometown. And as you know, I am Lisa.
I'm Allie.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Bree.
And so, since we're talking about moving away from our hometown, I'm from Mississippi, as you guys know, and I moved to Miami like 3 years ago, I guess. 3 years ago? Yeah. Where did you guys move from? Or go to and come back from?
So I moved from Miami to Massachusetts for 4 years, and I just moved back.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was a military brat, so I moved around my whole young life and then settled in Colorado, and I've been in Miami for 2 years now.
I am born and raised in Miami, but I just moved back. But I went to California for a while, for school.
Okay. So I know you just said where you went to, but I want to know, why did you move there? And what were the pros and cons of you moving there?
So for me, I moved to Massachusetts because I got a full tuition scholarship, and although I didn't really know about the school, Mount Holyoke, which is a women's college, it sounded like a great opportunity and a place where I could really, broaden my horizons. So I was like, why not? If you guys believe in me, I might as well take a chance on myself and just go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I moved here for graduate school, so I was accepted to the University of Miami, and that's why I came here, and even though I've graduated, I decided to stay to explore my professional career.
I was accepted also on a full scholarship to Pitzer College in Southern California, and that was the main reason why I left. And so I stayed there for 4 years, and now I'm back.
Okay. Like I said before, the pros and the cons. The pros and cons of why did you move? Did you get any sickness? Did you experience any freedom? What did you get out of moving to the place that you moved to?
So for me, definitely as far as pros, I did meet a lot of people who I probably wouldn't have met if I stayed here in Miami. A lot of different ethnicities. But as far as cons from meeting all of these different people, I kind of experienced culture shock in a way, meeting so many different people from literally all over the world. Didn't really have any of these ethnicities in any of my years growing up in school, so it really challenged my worldview, and I really had to take a step out of my comfort zone to really just accept what it was and grow in that way.
Okay, so as in shock, you said that there was a bunch of people that were different, right?
Yeah.
So how did you come accustomed to that?
So honestly, I just had to put myself out there and just kind of erase all of the ideas that I had in my head about people and who they are based on, whether it be television or social media, and just, listen to them and listen to their experiences and start fresh, which was super difficult coming from a place as diverse as Miami and thinking that these different ethnicities and thinking that you've already experienced that, but I realized it wasn't enough. There's still so many different people out there, and I made a lot of different friends, people who I didn't really think I'd be friends with, but sometimes it was off-putting, like having some of my friends, some of my Caucasian friends tell me, hey, you're the first Black friend I've had, this is so cool. And while you would think that is something nice to hear, it really isn't. It's kind of off-putting in a sense. I know you don't mean it, I know you mean it in a nice way, but it kind of just makes me wonder, what is America, and how everyone's having such different experiences, and we're not really acknowledging or trying to learn about each other. Because I never knew that, that a person could live in America up until age, 18.
And not see anyone as Black.
Yeah, and not meet a Black person, not have a Black friend, Just absurd to hear.
What about you?
I would agree on the pro is that you get to meet people that you aren't used to meeting. So for me, coming from Colorado and then previously from a military background, diversity looks a lot different in Miami than it does elsewhere. So something I recently realized was in Miami, it's a lot of people that were literally born in other countries and have immigrated here, whereas in say California or Colorado, it's people that have
parents or grandparents or great grandparents that were born overseas and then migrated here. So they, even though they look different than the white Caucasian stereotype, they like diversity is still like American diversity, whereas in Miami it's very much like
very direct.
Yeah, and it's like it's a much like it's an immigrant culture. So that was very shocking to me, was realizing that white doesn't mean white. Having to differentiate between white Caucasian and white Hispanic. Again, like just being queer in Miami is like really weird, or just like kind of underground, and it's different than what you see on TV. Like you think Miami is like this party city, like you're gonna go to the clubs like all the time, and everybody can just be whoever they want to be. That's
but
Miami
it's pretty
Beach.
good for a gay white man.
South Beach.
It's really, really
Miami
good
Beach,
for
yes, in Miami
for
Beach,
real.
and that's it. And like I myself was ignorant to the fact that Miami Beach is its own city, that it's like literally segregated by a body of water, like that's
Because people say they know Miami and they've been to Miami. I'm like, which part of Miami? Because if you've only seen South Beach, Miami Beach, you've never really been to Miami.
Right.
That's a whole different part of Miami.
And I think that's why like moving away from home is so difficult, because you already have this conception of what this place that you're moving to is, right? And then when it doesn't live up to that, or it's even more than you thought you could handle, you're just like, oh crap, I didn't know what I really was getting myself into. Maybe I should have done a little bit more research.
What about you? So what was the pros and cons?
Pros and cons. So like I said, I was born and raised in Miami, and then I got a full scholarship to a school in Southern California. I barely knew anything about Southern California, so I just knew that like what I've been told. And the vibes are great, weed is great, everything's chill, perfect. So I used California as my escape from my reality here in Miami, and that comes with a lot of different things deep rooted in my subconscious, but it was real, and I tried to escape from that. And I think that's what the main pro was in moving, is that I was able to move away from what I've known my whole life and what people have been telling me about myself my entire life, and to come into my own realization about who I am and what do I want to do with my own life, being away from home. 3,000 plus miles, I learned my lesson about a lot of different things, and I think that was one of the biggest pros of like coming into my own and coming into my own self. And I have to thank like the people that I met there, because I don't know how or what happened in the universe, but something told me that Pitzer College was the best place for me to be at the time. And I met my best friend there / soulmate, and she had helped me in my transformation of who I am at this point, accepting the fact that as a Black queer woman, and that was something that was really hard for me to accept, my queerness, being in Miami, even though you think that, oh my gosh, you get to be yourself in Miami, like, no, coming from a Haitian household, I just came out to my family a month ago.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
I already knew that.
Yes. Cheers. That was definitely a difficult thing for me, especially coming back to Miami and experiencing being in Southern California. I felt like I could be myself much more than I could in Miami. So going to California allowed me that space, that time, that energy, and people, what they say about Southern California, about LA and stuff, the vibes are chill and stuff like that. Like, that allowed me that space to be myself. But cons were definitely the culture shock. I mean, I would say that culture shock is definitely a pro and a con, because of course it comes with a lot of trauma and a lot of realization, but it definitely comes with the other side of it, of realizing what society is as a whole, and how different people interact with different things, and how you interact with different things in different cultures. Because in Cali, I dealt with like Asian folks that I've never dealt with before, like, we don't really have a big Asian culture here in Miami, or a white like population here in Miami. So
there's Filipino, and then there's like a lot of Jewish whites, but as far as like
Filipinos in Miami?
Yeah, definitely a lot of Filipinos.
Huge.
Definitely. But
One of my closest friends, Audrey, she's Filipino.
Really?
Yeah,
but the Asian
huge.
culture here, the Jewish culture here, they're just not talked about as much.
Yeah.
And in the area that I grew up in, like Miami is definitely very segregated.
Yes.
And I think that's
So maybe you haven't been to that part of the town.
Exactly. Because the white people town and the Asian culture and stuff like that, I never really went there or really experienced that. So going to California, that was definitely a whole different experience in itself. So
yeah, I think a pro that you touched on though is like this opportunity to kind of start over, which is what everybody kind of daydreams about when they think about moving. And that was another harsh reality for me. Was again like, you know, I just wanted to shed like everything, all the bullshit like from back home, like all the assumptions about myself, whether that was like from other people or from myself, and just being really like able to start over again. And it's like, it's just not as easy as you think
as you think that it is.
Right?
And that's the next question. That's where I was going to go to. Is like, what did you learn about yourself in the process? Because you would think like...
That's a real question. Okay?
Sometimes you think that if you just change your location, then you will be a better person. You'll be a lot more free. But majority of the time is like, it gives you that space to kind of see who you are, and then you're faced with just you.
Yeah,
it's so much difference that you are faced with you, regardless of if you want to face yourself or not. Because it was a lot of things that I learned about myself here in Miami that I didn't really accept when I was back in Mississippi. So, what was your process of learning about yourself?
Oh, God. Like, it's just so much, right? So the first thing I thought of was like, I brought as little as possible with me. Like I packed up my little Camry, and anything that didn't fit, like it was gone. I just trashed it.
Okay.
But like the one thing that I for sure brought with me that I might not have realized was myself. Like I brought all of my bullshit.
All
like,
of it.
I wanted
to leave it.
I just brought it all day.
That's a word.
Yeah. But then the other part that I was thinking of that I wasn't prepared for, what did I learn about myself and being in a new place was like the machismo. Like, so what Colorado or California taught me beforehand was I'm an independent woman. Like, I don't need my door open for me. Like, it's not like I don't need it. It's not like I was already thinking, like, don't do that. This is when it happened, you know, when men were treating me a certain way, I was just like, why are you doing this?
You thought
like,
it was demeaning.
It is. And it's like, it's frustrating and it's intrusive and like all those things. So that was a huge part of the culture shock for me. Was feeling like that, almost fetishized.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a white Caucasian friend come visit me, and she's still, to this day, she's like, I was at a bar, and like, a guy walked up to me and said, "Are you Caucasian?" And nobody's ever said that to her before, you know? Like, so just really being reminded that we stick out in a place like this.
That you are other. Miami is the place that you are other. The one place that you are
Yeah, really.
That's an interesting take.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been very humbling, and like, like, whatever, like, but the machismo in and of itself was like a whole other level of that was, which has been really hard to navigate. And then again, like being like a heavily tattooed woman, feeling very fetishized, like that, like just trying to like date. It's like people want to talk about your tattoos. Whereas in Denver, everybody like my professors in college had tattoos, you know, like my bosses at my jobs had tattoos, the kids I worked with had tattoos, and then here it's like this thing, and it's a spectacle almost. So that was very hard and became very isolating for me. So what I learned about myself was like how heavily connected to communities that I took for granted I was back home, like and kind of like these subcultures that I just kind of assumed were everywhere, and they're not. I really felt kind of isolated and like the people didn't get me, or like again that I was a spectacle. Talking about legalization of marijuana, people were like, oh, she just mentioned marijuana in like a polite conversation. And I'm like, well, where I grew up, everybody fucking does it.
That was definitely a difference that I experienced going to California.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was definitely a culture shock in itself, just in the marijuana like conversation, because it's so open and honest there.
It's not taboo.
And here, I promise you, it's like what? Somebody smoking? Like, Like,
Yeah.
it's just so taboo here. And like,
Oh,
I
it's, like,
didn't
derogatory.
even smoke until I went to California because that's just how strict my mom was. Like, I grew up in a Haitian household. My mom didn't mess with that stuff. Even now that she knows that I smoke, she hates it. Like, and I'm just like, I have a med card from California. It's literally like something that I use for my anxiety.
My brother got pulled over for hotboxing a car.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled him
While
over.
driving?
Yeah, and they pulled him over and told him to smash his pipe and then told him to go home.
Wow.
If that would have happened here.
I have friends from Louisiana who they have a joint and they go to jail.
You will.
And then
If you got a roach in your car, you going to jail.
If they
Right.
find a pipe in your car, if
But
they
that's not
find
even
any,
marijuana.
it's
That's like a
paraphernalia.
tobacco.
It's paraphernalia.
Oh my
They will
gosh.
lock
They-
your ass up.
So
Yeah.
quick.
It's paraphernalia.
So I don't
And
know how
especially here being Florida, like I understand like some people don't consider Miami the South because of the cultural traditions, but it's still considered Florida and has to go under Florida regulation and laws, and that has a deep conservative history.
But there are a lot of places here in Miami where you can smoke weed freely.
Yes,
True.
So
Like,
you,
that's
can
the
find,
difference.
you find your little places.
Those little
and
bars
that's
and
what, that's what
stuff.
I mean about it's not really the South because
Yeah.
it is these like little cutways of other nationalities put in
Yeah.
there to where, okay, we're going to make this acceptable because this is my nationality. And I feel
Absolutely.
like this.
And I feel I
Yeah.
tell people, they ask me how Miami is. I'm like, you know, they're
Weird.
from Colorado and California, so like they understand the concept of like the Wild West. But I'm like, Miami is kind of like this pocket of the Wild West where you can kind of do whatever the fuck
It's
you
the
want.
wild south.
Yeah,
Wild
like,
South.
because
It's the
you
Wild South.
You can smoke pretty
Even
much
with
anywhere.
driving.
I was gonna say like yes, you get in your car and you can do whatever the fuck.
In Cali, I wasn't worried about none of this because I started smoking in Cali. Like, I didn't smoke when I was out here. So that was my reality of marijuana and that culture. But, like, coming back out here, I was like, oh, I have to be scared of the cops?
Yes.
Oh, I can't
gotta
smoke in
look
my
out
car?
now?
Oh, I gotta
be careful.
No, it's different because like in Colorado and California, like you can be smoking a blunt, but if you drop out like a bag of trash, you're gonna get pulled
Oh,
over.
you gonna get
and
pulled
here
over.
it's like
That's Cali,
you can't
too.
smoke weed, but
That's
you can dump
Cali,
all your
too.
trash.
As much as you want.
Cali, they will charge you
I
if
can't
you're
do it
using
anymore.
plastic of any kind.
Yes.
But mind you, if you're smoking a blunt outside, it don't matter if kids
Yeah.
around. They're gonna be like, "You good?"
No,
Yeah.
I thought littering was like normal. I thought everyone did it.
Oh,
Not like
in
somebody came
Miami,
and picked it
littering
up.
is
Yeah.
horrible.
And then I went
Terrible.
Went to
I went
Cali?
to Massachusetts and threw something out the
Really
window,
is.
and everyone just was like, "Oh, Bree, why would you do that
Yes.
to the earth?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "The earth?
The earth.
We're
I ain't
walking
even
right
care.
here. Like it's gonna go somewhere regardless. If I throw it in the landfill, it's the earth. If I throw it here, it's the earth."
Yo, we had a commercial
And then
that
I
was
learned why.
we had
you
a
know?
commercial that was taught to us in Mississippi where trash would stick to you. So it was like as much trash as you as much trash as you throw out your window, it'll come back to you and it'll stick to you to make us aware of it. So there used to be these people with a bunch of trash on them.
Stuck to them.
Just stuck to them to make you know that. So every time I throw something out, I'm like, oh, this gonna stick to me eventually. It's so traumatizing.
Yeah.
You didn't tell us about what you learned about yourself while you were.
What I learned about myself, I learned that I'm a pretty harsh person in terms of the United States. Like, I didn't know what the term PC meant. Right?
For real?
Political correctness.
Yeah,
we don't have that here.
We didn't have that here.
That doesn't exist.
Political correctness does not exist.
I mean, for
in
some
Miami.
people it might, but I never heard the term. I
For
never
people
heard the
who
phrase.
have that education
does.
and
But
the
I mean, I'm not
further
from
knowledge of what political correctness actually means.
Okay, so I knew as far as like, hey, I can't say the R word. Like, I can't say, oh, what you did was so retarded or something like that. Like,
And
I
that's
knew
something regular
about,
here.
I
in
knew
Miami.
that
Like,
much,
what's the R word?
right?
Okay.
So
That's
I
right.
didn't know, like, about, like, you know, in terms of, hey, what are your pronouns? Like, what pronouns do you use? Like, and all of these different things that is just like, oh, okay, mental health. What is that really? Not saying that that's something native to Miami. That might just be my own experiences, but I think that it's not a conversation that's had as much here in South Miami as in New England. Like, I feel like a lot more awareness is put around that and, like, you know, monitoring yourself, self-care, like a whole bunch of phrases that I had no clue about that I think once I applied them to myself in my living situation, it really made my life a lot easier.
It does.
Like, hey, my self-care day, like, I'm gonna, you know, go to the beach and do yoga. And,
Because black people are taught to just take a nap.
And that
You
was it.
feel better.
And make a soup or something and, drink some tea and that's it. I didn't really...
It'll settle your stomach and it'll make you feel better. Yeah.
Right,
Ginger.
right.
Ginger ale, take a nap, you'll be fine. And going there and seeing like, wow, all these people have so many alternative methods in which, they relax. Like I went hiking. I mean, I'm not able to do that here. But, just the way of thinking and just self-care and health, just the whole mentality around it was so different than what I've experienced here in Miami, to say the least. And another thing that I noticed about myself is that I do not really like the cold. Obviously, I have that Miami blood, but one day, it hit -1, and I said, "What does negative mean?" Like I literally looked at my weather app, and I said,
"No, that's a serious
-1.
question."
Yeah.
I posted on my Snapchat. I was just like, "Oh my gosh, what do I not go outside?
What
How
does negative weather mean to me?
Negative what? Like what is?
But then one day it hit -37, and we got an email saying, "Hey, no one go outside. It's a health hazard. Your hair will freeze and fall off. Your eyelashes will break off. Do not stick your tongue out. It will, freeze." And I was just like, "Yo, like kidding me, right? Like, there's no way."
It's the truth.
Like I know
it's the truth.
I know this is the place where we settled.
It's the truth.
I know this is where they discovered America. But like, god damn it, when y'all found the rest of it, you should have left. Why subject me to this? I'm like, people still live here, yo.
It snows in North Mississippi where I went to
I'm
college.
anemic. I can't do that.
But the good thing about it is that they will cancel classes and stuff.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
so
true.
hard.
Driving.
So
That's
you have
true.
like
'Cause
a
if it's
snow
raining,
day to stay.
we don't got
at
we
home.
don't got no snow day. We don't got no rainy day.
And do stuff you
You
ain't
still gotta
supposed
take
to
your ass to
do.
class.
I was gonna say, meanwhile, back in Colorado, we get like 8 inches, and they're like, "Why are you late?"
You still gotta come to class.
No.
Yes.
In places that they have heavy snow all the
Oh,
time,
in
they
Chicago,
don't
my sister
care.
said that. In
Yeah.
Chicago, you have
The
to
buses
drive.
are
They're
still
like,
running
what
if
is
you
going
come.
They
on?
don't care.
But no, not for Mississippi. If it's like sleet or any ice on there,
Yeah.
we staying at home. I
I feel like southern places that actually do get snow, they're like more lenient with it because at the end of the day, we still southern.
Yeah.
We can't handle the snow.
Yeah. The cars and the public transportation probably
It's just not built for it. It's
a good
not cut
excuse
out
to not
for
come in.
it.
So
Yeah.
It's a huge.
Atlanta, when they get when they get some ice, they shut down the whole highway.
Yeah. Now, I did want to point out the difference between like Massachusetts or up north and like Colorado or like the West is like that is cold and cloudy and icy, and we still get the sun. Like we are elevated. We are a mile above heights.
In the cold?
Yeah, it's cold and it's sunny.
California is the same way. If you go to Northern California and even Southern California, still gets cold, but like we're elevated and
Closer to the sun.
just closer, and it's
The sky is actually bluer in Colorado.
there's no clouds.
No clouds?
Well, California, there wasn't really many clouds because it's drier, it's humidity, so it's like we ain't getting much clouds. That was the biggest culture shock for me too. Like my first 2 days, I was looking at the sky for like 24 hours. I was like, why is there no clouds? Like they were like, I'm so used to clouds and humidity and like evaporation and stuff because Miami rains every 2 seconds. But
So from dealing with the fact of like us having to deal with ourselves when we love somewhere, and also like the weather and really like the culture, all of that, what would you have to say for anyone who's like a little skeptical of moving away from home? Because I have a lot of friends in Mississippi who are afraid to leave. They're just afraid.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's because they don't have any family anywhere or because they've never been outside of Mississippi. I visited Miami like twice and then moved here. So it did not take a lot for me. So what do you have to say to those people who want to move but are afraid?
I honestly would say do it. Like, just do it. There's so many things to be afraid of course. Like, I just on a whim made the decision to move across the country. And that was something big for me. I didn't have much to my name. I didn't have nothing. I just came with one suitcase and came to California. I was like, this is my move. But I would say, I don't know. Honestly, don't be scared of it because coming to a new place and making a home for yourself in a new place, yes, it's scary and yes, it comes with a lot of different things, but if it's for your peace of mind, it's worth it. Like one of the things that you said, I remember you said, when you were trying to get away, you still brought your bullshit with you.
Yeah.
I was trying to get away from a lot of shit in Miami. Like, not even gonna lie, especially my mental illnesses and things like that. I was going through a lot of depression and anxiety from middle school through high school, and I didn't realize. I thought going away to California would help me. And that's in the first 2 years, it really did. But realizing that I took my bullshit with me. Because for me, my mom was toxic to me at the time. She was going through her own things, but that was toxic to me and my well-being. So I had to get away in order to really get to know myself, get to know who I am outside of Miami, outside of my mom, outside of what people tell me who I am.
It's a tough question because I'm realizing that, with the exception of you, Lisa, like that we all moved for school, you know. So it's like, even though it was a tough transition for all of us in different ways, like we already had this built-in community.
That's the difference, I think.
Yeah, because even like with grad school, it's like your community is a little bit more separate. Like I wasn't on campus that much, and I did work like the whole time I was going through my degree. So it's a little bit different, but it's just not the same as like picking up and actually starting over. And having done that as a military brat, you know, where I had no choice and it was like I was kind of thrown in these situations, you know, like it's really like you have to grow tough skin. Like you have to like be willing to say like I'm the new kid and I don't know what the hell is going on here. It's not comfortable, and I do suggest to my friends that are like I want to get the hell out of, you know, this town that I've been in for 20-something years of my life. I'm like, where's your community going to be? Like, what is it about, like, this town or this city that you're attracted to?
What's
like,
your plan? Yeah,
right.
You have to think about that.
You have to have a plan.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, you have to know your purpose and remember your mission.
Right.
So, like, whereas we all went for school, right?
That was our mission. That was our
mission. That was our purpose. So while you're researching, whether it's a job or an internship or, you know, a fellowship or just you're just volunteering, you know, remember why you're going and make sure it's a community that's going to accept you, that you're going to feel comfortable in.
Being willing to adapt, being willing to say like I made a mistake, but just really being like open, right? Like, and it's been such an interesting experience in Miami. Like I said, it's been very humbling, kind of like, okay, like my identity now is like a white, Caucasian, queer, tattooed woman, where that wasn't really like my identity at all. Like back home, it was like I'm a really outgoing, independent, outdoorsy person.
Isn't it weird how it changes?
Yes.
So it was like the opposite for me. So for me back home, it was all of the, she's a queer black woman. And here is a little bit more of the adjectives that are more about my personality rather than my identity. And that's what I was running away from. I didn't want to deal with the fact that I was being defined by my identity. Thank you so much for listening to Grrrl Uninterrupted. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you ever want to be on Grrrl Uninterrupted, just contact me, Lisa, and on Grrrl. GRRL_interrupted on Instagram, or Lisa GILES, like 4 extra S's at the end, for you to be. There's so many difficult things about these names, but if you want to be on it, just let me know. Love to talk to you about your experiences. This is what makes Grrrl Uninterrupted. Thank you guys so much for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you next time.